And so in this episode, I have multi-instrumentalist Orlando Greenhill. He has been part of many projects, including the Artificial Ensemble, Create, Javelina Rail Company, and the Julie Band. Also creator of the Instant Band in Long Beach. This is my first time speaking with Orlando, so but judging from his online presence, I think we share some musical interest and influences. So when did you start playing instruments? Do you have a primary instrument that you learned first, or?
Well, I started. It's funny. The first instrument that I ever played, excuse me, was actually like the clarinet. I wish I would have
Mm,
kept with it. Like in the fourth grade, they just want to give you that experience.
right.
Then I changed to violin. The current, the most known instrument that I play is the bass, and I started playing bass because, well, I really wanted to play guitar. This is like in
Mm,
the seventh grade.
right.
They didn't have a guitar and orchestra class, and my dad. May he rest in peace. He actually recommended me to play bass. And to be honest, I didn't really know much about the bass until I started playing it. And
Oh,
the
cool.
rest is history. That was like, I was around I think around 12, maybe 12 or 13. I'm not sure. Yeah, around 13, 1988, somewhere around there. Like I started playing bass, and I've been playing for over 30 something years, man.
Oh, wow. So you're like in your 40s like me? I'm 47. How old are you? Or if you don't mind me asking.
I just turned 46. Nah, I love my age. I just turned
Okay, cool.
46 November 1st, 74, man.
So we're in the same,
Yeah.
definitely 73. So that's cool. So you play stand-up bass too, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
wow,
I
man.
started on that and the electric pretty much around the same time. And yeah, dude, I never thought that I would actually even, you know, have somewhat of a career doing it. Like I'm glad that I had encouraging parents and just the environment was cultivating it, and bass is like my main instrument. I play guitar and drums too, but and a little bit of vocals, but bass is like my main.
Nice. Awesome, man. So like I've been doing like these episodes with my friends, my music friends that I've had over the years, producers, guitar players. I'm originally from the East Coast, so a lot of the guys I know that I grew up with are from like the DC, Baltimore, New York, Philly area, like going to hardcore shows and stuff like that. What is your first memory of your first hardcore metal show like as a kid? What was the first shows that you went to? And are you from Cali originally, from Long Beach, or?
Yeah, I'm from Long Beach, California, born and raised, man.
Um,
Funny thing is, you're gonna laugh when I tell you this. My dad, being a musician that he is, I mean, I grew up listening to all kinds of different music, but I can say as far as like hard rock, heavy metal,
mm,
my dad would take us to these gigs, and some of these bands, like were actually sort of what now I guess people call Christian rock type bands because we, grew up as like Christians and stuff.
oh,
And my
cool.
dad, he's from that era where it's like, him and my mom came from the 70s. So they were listening to everything from like Zeppelin to Earth, Wind and Fire and all that stuff. So,
Oh,
we got in that church and it's just like, okay, let's check out some bands that are kind of like in that similar vein. So I think my first rock concert, man, was it DeGarmo and Key? I think that was the first hard rock band that I saw. It wasn't the first hard rock band that I heard. I mean, I liked Kiss because of the way that they looked.
mm-hmm.
I'm like probably 5 years old looking at, I think even before I even heard Kiss, it was just their image, like them and Alice Cooper, I thought looked pretty cool. And then later
Right.
on, I began to like hear them like a few years later. But I can say my first hard rock concert was probably like when I was maybe around 7 or 8. I'm not sure, maybe even a little younger than that. As far as punk goes, I saw some like new wave band kind of in the same vein back
Right.
in like 84. But as far as hardcore goes, um, shoot, the first hardcore gig that I went to actually, um, well, there was one band that actually played at Knott's Berry Farm that I
Wow.
ended up kind of like, I saw a bunch of kids slam dancing and I'm like, let me join in on this. I just watched the band and I thought it was cool. I was in the hardcore and stuff before I even saw that. But
Mm,
like, I could say the first hardcore band I saw is a local band by the name of Childhood. They were called Blah. They went by that name later. But I was in the hardcore before I even saw that. I got into hardcore via Rodney on the Rock, the Mara Sunset Strip, and also Flipside Video. Like
that's
K
a
Rock
guy
would play
from
a lot of.
He's from K Rock, correct? He's a legendary DJ from K Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
And deserves more props than he's been getting, and deserves more respect as a DJ, and also as a person that pretty much like that guy like opened up a lot of doors for like a lot of not only like punk but also like a lot of the underground like sort of rock scene in LA, you
Hmm.
know, um was the home for like a lot of glitter rock bands and art rock bands, and even from New York and the UK. But yeah, that guy introduced me to like you know the Germs and all that. I think the first
Right.
hardcore band I ever heard was Suicidal Tendencies though, because I remember that I saw a video of them when I was like in the 4th grade. I didn't know what hardcore was then, but I just liked the way that the song kept getting faster and faster. It's institutionalized.
Right, right,
And
right, right. Yeah.
a
Body
few,
Count does a great cover of that song,
yeah, I
Institutionalized.
heard that. I was cracking up, man. That's Ice-T had me dying laughing.
Yeah, for
And
sure, dude. Yeah.
a few
Um,
years after that, was Flipside Video on cable access. That was in the late 80s. So that's how I got into hardcore.
Awesome, man. So I know that in Cali there's a big backyard scene, like with the punk bands and hardcore playing in the backyards. Does that going on in Compton and Long Beach as far as like the underground backyard stuff? Did you attend any of those shows or
Yeah.
friends with any of those kids?
Um, I could say like, yeah, I've been to some of those even as an adult and stuff too. Some of my Sound Army kids, the collective that I belong to, have played those shows. I think I
Oh,
played maybe one of them. It's like, but yeah, that's obviously COVID's not, you know, it's kind of hampering that, but definitely in Long Beach, that backyard scene's alive. Whether they're playing a lot of this newer indie stuff or like underground punk stuff, like yeah, the youth that are into this stuff, I mean, it's so cool to see a lot of them, you know, not only playing the music but also like just cultivating that scene and encouraging so many different people, and not, I don't see as much, how could I say this, and maybe because of a lot of the youth that I know, everybody seems to be cool with each other. It's no set tripping like scene wise, you know, like I'm
yeah,
cooler than you type stuff. I haven't seen it.
cool. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that scene is still around, man. You know, like
yeah,
a lot of youth are doing their things, and my Sound Army guys and girls are a part of that. You know, like
mhm. Yeah.
they're
I
in all
believe.
different bands.
Cool. I believe there's a documentary on Netflix about that scene. Actually, I saw about the backyard
The
scene.
bands one,
Um, yeah, it came out like a couple years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago. I think it's called
actually,
Los LA or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna laugh when I tell you this. One of my Sound Army guys, they're in that too.
Oh, okay.
They're the band called um, like what was something idiots? How could I forget? Something idiots that they used to call themselves, but they would do. They're actually in that movie. Like one of the guys that Chewy, he plays drums in that band, and it was a few other bands that he was in, and they ended up. He's the one who actually showed me. He's, look, I got it in this film, man.
That's cool,
Yeah,
dude.
that was a good documentary. I saw some of that. It was really cool.
Mhm. So, like, as an African American male, like, being in the scene, did you remember experiencing any racism at all in the early days, or was it just all good all the time? Was it kind of like maybe I remember like getting looks like, what is this guy doing here? And man, we used to go to shows in Pennsylvania where it's a lot of like rednecks and a lot of big F-150 truck driving people. You know what I mean? And we'd be at Slayer shows and they would be appalled to see, me and my buddy at the shows. I'm talking like in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. Anything like that here
Yeah.
was just all good for you, like as a, you know.
I could say I've had a few incidences, but for the most part, I've I've um we've had some pretty cool people that I grew up with, you know, like just,
Yeah.
but it's a trip because like I remember playing a show, and some guy, you know, I swore he was eyeing me, and I'm trying to be cool, whatever.
Yeah.
He punches me, dude, like right in my mouth, man. And so I run and just basically push him. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing, dude? And I just finished playing a show. It was like, it was a show that I actually played at. Like, and
Uh,
this is when I was an adult. But it's such a strange thing. I could say like, you know, a lot of the people that I grew up with were actually pretty cool. You know,
Cool.
you do have like, you know, I mean, the last fight that I got into was in high school with some racist heavy metal guy. So it was
Mhm.
weird to find, you know, not only a person, you know, like a lot of, I got along with everyone, but you had, you know, I guess heavy metal guys back then didn't like punkers, plus me being black. And
Right.
this guy, you know, I knew he had problems and he kept picking on me. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. He called me the N word and I knocked him out. So
Yeah,
stuff like
but the little thing that don't, they didn't know is that, Public Enemy was sampling Slayer back in the day
yeah,
on 1988, 1989, Rain and Blood. So it's all one, man. And we've always just been one. There's never been any separation, in my opinion, over the years. You know what I'm saying? So do you have any
yeah. I
like,
mean,
go ahead.
it's
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I think like even me, you know, I love Public Enemy a lot, but I was really into like a lot of Slayer and like a lot of underground punk bands like Pink Turds in Space and of course
Mm,
Bad Brains and you know
right.
early Napalm Death and all that stuff. I
Hmm.
just think like and I could say like I'm glad that I had the friends that I had because like even in high school we were the freaks. We were all different races and all that, but we were the death rockers, the punk rockers, the alternative type dudes.
Hmm.
People would throw food at us. You know, we had the crazy hair and the makeup and all that stuff, and
Exactly.
you know,
Right.
it didn't matter. Like we were just the freaks, and people really weren't really. Yeah, that's. I
Yeah.
got too many stories of that, but I've had positive and negative experiences with that. You know.
Right, right, right. So do you have like any affiliation with Blackrock Coloration? I'm sure you're a fan like Fishbone, Living Color, 24/7 Spies. Of course,
I'm a
Fishbone.
fan of all those bands.
Hmm.
I'm a fan of all those bands, but when I even, and no disrespect to them, I'm sure that they have like other things that they're doing.
Hmm.
I wanted to be a part of it, but it was more like kind of like they weren't really accepting anybody. So it's just like
Right.
whatever. I still support just like in word, you know, like I just feel like for me that there's something that I could support just in like, you know, I'm not really a part of any scene per se. And I
Right.
felt like with that, you know, it's just I can support them from a distance, you know, like I don't have to be a part of it, but I do
Yeah.
appreciate what they've done. And I'm, you know, I'm actually going to be writing on them from my Black History of Rock and Roll tribute that I do on Facebook and Instagram one
Oh,
of these days.
I have to check that out. I have to check that out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a big thrash metal fan. Any like thrash metal bands that like influence your style, like Bay Area thrash, or like from the 80s or 90s that
Yeah, lots. I love, of course, Slayer, which
Mm,
it's funny. I like Creator, Slayer with the more death thrash, death thrash metal, because there's a death thrash punk that does not get a lot of, you know, people don't talk about that much, but I
mm-hmm.
can explain that if you want. But I like Creator, Slayer, Vengeance Rising, which Vengeance Rising was kind of death metal too. Death Row from Germany, they were a really good band.
Oh, they were like
Voivod,
a technical progressive band, Death
yeah,
Row. Those guys are
Death,
insane, man. I know. I
dude,
used to
they
listen
were
to them back in the
amazing.
80s. They're amazing. Yeah.
And they're underrated. It's like them and Atheist, like,
Oh
dude,
yeah.
those are some great bands, man. You know, like,
Yeah. I'm a big Atheist fan. That album Elements and Piece of
yeah,
Time. Jeez, man. So
that
genius.
time one. Yeah, man, they're amazing.
Hmm.
Like, just as far as like their technicality and the way that they, you know, put together their arrangements, man. And
Hmm.
it's what I like about bands like Suffocation too. You know, like I
Right.
always call Suffocation. And I know I'm delving into the death metal thing. I talk about death metal all the time, but like
Right. Right.
Suffocation is one of those bands where it's like the arrangements is just like amazing. You know,
Yeah.
Atheist still had the same thing. Another band, Atrocity, that's more death metal. But yeah, I liked a lot of thrash metal too and stuff coming up.
Yeah, a lot
You
of the
know,
European thrash bands were legendary. But the thing about Atheist that I always thought was cool, and also like Chuck Schuldin's death, is that you could hear the jazz influences. You could tell that
yeah.
those guys were into Weather Report, Chick Corea. It was
Mm-hmm.
just death metal vocals over these like extreme jazz
Yep.
chops. So those guys are super talented, along with like Cynic. I love that
Oh
band,
yeah,
all those that
Cynic is
band too.
amazing.
Yeah, so but people, they hear the death metal vocal and they just automatically don't want to go any further. But there's like all this musicality behind that's
I
extended
love that
in,
stuff. I'm,
especially
I,
with atheists.
I'm a death metal fan. I mean, I've been even as a punk rocker, you know, back in the day, I was really into all that stuff, man. Like, shoot,
Yeah.
you know, I mentioned Suffocation, but you know, I was into like grindcore stuff too, which was more punk rock to me at that point. It was more hardcore punk.
Hmm.
But of course, you know, like in the 90s, I think everything kind of coalesced together, you know, like death, grindcore, you know, grindcore, death metal, all that stuff, you know, like, and just, um, I love, you know, death, of course, obituary, more traditional death metal.
Right.
You know, Atrocity, who I think before they went, you know, what they are now, before Atrocity, I mean, shoot, the album Hallucinations is one of the most underrated death metal albums. I mean, like in lyrical context, as well as like arrangement. They
Right.
had some really trippy like changes in rhythmics, time signatures in that stuff too. Plus, it was the first socially conscious death metal, you know, album. Even
Yeah.
before Death started kind of getting into their like more or less gore stuff. If you ever check out that album, man, it's a trip. And the lyrics on that Atrocity album is like, wow, dude, they're talking about some real stuff, man, some heartfelt stuff, you know, like
Yeah. The only
um,
Atrocity album I had was Blood. I think it's called Blood, Blut, or
yeah, that
yeah.
was before Hallucinations, and that was
Hmm.
just like a okay, we're gonna put this out. But Hallucinations, dude, that was just like what the album after that's good too. But the
Hmm.
Hallucination is still like my favorite one. The arrangements and everything. It's just like wow, the changes, the blasting, all that stuff, man. Just like and what he's talking about, like it's a trip. It's like a long story, but on some real like real life. It's a trippy album, dude. Like that's one of my favorite death metal albums.
Awesome, man. So I know some of your personal stuff is more of a lot of like noise experimental stuff. Any influences on that, or any old school bands that were kind of like in that noise experimental realm for you that
Yeah,
influenced you?
actually, I have a few different projects. That's just one of many projects that I have. I need to release retrospective stuff that I've done since the 90s.
Uh huh.
I have I have my solo bass stuff, which is a little bit more experimental. I have my solo stuff, which is everything that I've done meld into one. And then I have my early 70s rock and roll influence band called, you know, that I have. Um, and it sounds like basically Sabbath Funkadelic um, with some
Wow.
gothic overtones, you know, like that's kind of like what I'm going for. Like 1969 to 1974, that's the sound that I'm going for.
Hmm.
Um, and but the experimental stuff, man, it's just high energy stuff that I'm into. I like a lot of it, you know, avant-garde like jazz and stuff like
Like
Albert Eiler's.
John Zorn type stuff.
I like John Zorn, but I like John Zorn's Naked City and Masada.
Uh huh.
Um, I can't say that like I'm really into everything that he's done, but Naked City is probably the one thing that I like the most. But as far as like the more experimental stuff, I like a lot of stuff like Albert Eiler, Cecil Taylor. On the classical side of that, I like stuff like John Cage, you know, of course, Sun Ra,
Right.
um,
Right.
you know, people like Justice Yeldham, even though I was doing that stuff before I even heard of him. Justice Yeldham plays glass. Um,
Mm.
composers like Shineri Hung, um, shoot, like people like
I
Ollie
always thought
Wilson, composers like Ollie Wilson.
Atrazine Newbine, I always thought they were pretty experimental. They were part of
Yeah,
that desert doc that came out. It was like they did this big show out in the desert back in the '80s, and they played that show.
huh.
Yeah, Atrazine. Yeah. So, what about any industrial? Do you like Killing Joke or Ministry? I'm sure. Are you a fan of any of that stuff? Industrial metal.
I like some of it. When I
Hmm.
was younger, I was more into it, but the industrial, like you know, Killing Joke's dope. But the industrial stuff that I'm probably more into is like the earlier stuff, like SPK.
Oh,
Um, you know, groups like that are just really noisy and kind of just like pretty avant-garde type stuff. Like you know, Stockhausen's earlier stuff. People don't cite him as an industrial influence, but Stockhausen had a huge influence on a lot of that stuff. Um,
wow.
I like
Yeah.
Ice Design, even though like they can go beyond that. Faust, Faust is not, I could say, yeah, Faust is a progressive rock band, but at the same time, they've done all kinds of different things, man. Like, and even, I mean, you know, I can say that I'm probably in Skinny Puppy, of course.
Hmm.
Shout out to my homeboy, Data. How could I forget the Data Bomb? Dre. He's
Right.
worked with Skinny Puppy.
Oh
Um,
wow. Yeah, they're legendary. Skinny Puppy for sure, dude. They're
yeah,
legendary.
Skinny Puppy's dope.
Yeah.
There's another band called Mental Destruction that I really like. They're from Europe. I used to talk with Sam from that group. I don't know
Hmm.
where he is now. Um, and then there's groups like Tunnel Canary. Again, they're more experimental though. Like people would just call them noise rock. You can't really label Tunnel Canary. They're just a violent, you know, harsh noise. Even though the main guy Nathan Holiday, shout out to him, is like really peaceful.
Right,
You know,
right, right.
I like just like really just, you know, like SPK's earlier stuff, you know, like, you know, a little Throbbing Gristle, even though I don't particularly care for like a lot of their like they're a lot of some of the things that they represent, but
Hmm.
just like wrenched industrial stuff like that, you know, like I can't think of, you know,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm more into that now than I was when I was younger, as far as like the industrial metal stuff. I Ministry was, you know, Psalm 69 was pretty cool.
Well,
Um,
yeah, that's like a classic. I mean, I think like
yeah,
the new groups that are kind of doing the hip hop industrial, like Death Grips and H0909. I mean, at least they're implementing that in their music. You know, they're being creative
it's
with
funny.
it. You know.
I never thought of those guys like as industrial, but yeah, I like them a lot. I used to correspond with Zach Hill a lot, and people thought
Oh,
I
the
was
drummer,
MCY.
Zach Hill, the drummer.
Yeah, he's a
Oh,
cool cat, man. I met him at this boredoms thing that he played in. But yeah, I
so
like that. I like Death Grips. I like, you know, Dalek, all those bands like that, you know.
yeah. You talking about the Boredoms from Japan, the Asian,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I like the Boredoms a lot. I saw them on Palooza tour, like 93, 94,
Oh
Palooza.
shoot, you saw that, man. I heard about that gig. I heard that was an awesome gig.
Yeah, man. Those guys are insane, man. Insane,
Dude,
dude.
his old band, I's old band, their lead singer, I can't even Harat. Oh my god, Hatari. Some that band is crazy. There's no recorded gigs of him, but one of the things that he's known for. He's the old band before he formed the Boredoms. Basically, that guy was throwing stuff at people. He one of his performances, he drove a bulldozer through the venue that they were playing.
Wow, that is insane.
I'll send you the video, man. I was like, I mean, it's not a video of that, but somebody was talking about him, and I thought, like, man, yeah, Yamadazuka I is also in Naked City too. He was the lead singer of Naked City, John Zorn's project as well. You
Yeah,
know,
a few years ago, I saw Melt Banana with the Melvins at the Troubadour, and Melt Banana, they were insane. I was so excited to see them more than the
I
Melvins
opened
because I had already saw the Melvins many times before that. But Melt Banana, that was my first time seeing them live. That
Mel
shit was
Banana is
dope.
one of my favorite bands. As a matter of fact, I know those guys. Like they got my band
Oh,
Javelina to open up for them twice, and I've seen Melt Banana probably 8 times. That's one of my favorite bands. I know Agata and Yako, they're cool people.
so you
Um,
guys played with them, huh?
yeah, we played with them twice. We played with them at the Chorus Club in LA. Then they got us to open up for them at the Troubadour in Los Angeles, like back in the early 2000s. They're cool people, man. Like, you know, that's like one of my favorite bands, man. Like I've seen them probably more than I've seen any other band, you
Damn,
know.
dude. If we ever make it out of COVID and you guys play with them, let me know. Hit me on the freaking Facebook instant messenger. Let me know, dude. And I'll drive to Long
Hey,
Beach and
that was
I'll
that
live
was a
out,
few
you know.
decades ago.
Oh, okay, but yeah, dude, it was good to see
Yeah,
them.
where do you stay at?
Man, dude, I'm in Palmdale. I'm like outside of Santa Clarita, but I'm always in
Ooh,
LA because I'm always in LA because I do Uber and Grubhub on the side. Like, so I come down there on the
that's
weekends
awesome.
to try to make my money. You know what I'm saying? But my regular
Yeah.
job is from home. I have my regular at home job, but I'm always in LA. And of course, when the shows come back, I'm going to be going. You know, I go to a lot of shows, so I'll be back. I'll be back down there. The last time I was in Long Beach, I was at a place called I think it's called D Piazzi's, and we saw Year of the Dragon. And that's Walt's group from
Yeah.
Fishbone, Year of the Dragon. So I'll be back down there as soon as we're able to go to
Yeah.
shows again, man. So are you into any? I know you're probably into some good psych like Hawkwind or any African psych that you might want to talk about at all.
Yep.
Psych.
I love a lot of that stuff. A lot of the I like all that stuff. Zamrock, like
Yeah, which
the
yeah,
Ngozi family,
yeah,
all those cats. Hawkwind, bands like The Misunderstood,
right.
groups like Large Free, all that. I like anything that's pretty much from the late 60s and early 70s that's heavy, dark, crazy, and just spastic. Like, so
Exactly.
I mean, what's the name? Tomorrow's Gift is another great band that doesn't get props as far as like, I guess people call it pre-prog rock and kind of post psychedelic type stuff. I don't know where they were from, but they were a great band.
Mother's Gift,
The
huh?
Crazy World of Arthur Brown, huh?
Mother's Gift, you said, huh? Is the name of the band.
Oh no, Tomorrow's Gift.
Oh, Tomorrow's
Tomorrow's
Gift.
Gift.
Tomorrow's Gift. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Cool, man. Yeah, man.
I'm sorry.
Dude, you're telling me about a lot of stuff. So I think I know stuff, but dude, it's like a lot of people that know stuff that you don't, man. So tell me about the Instant Band project. When did that get started, and what is the deal with that? Is it all just like free form? Anybody can come and jam out? The Instant Band project.
Yes, Instant Band is a game that I made up on my birthday. Thank God. Like seriously, the most I was like, and I'm like, wow, really? Um, Fall of '99 around my birthday, my 25th birthday,
Mm-hmm.
I got this idea to basically like invite, a bunch of people in a birthday for a birthday party that I had, and basically I invited friends and of course family and we all came and my friends that were artists brought their stuff and basically like I wanted to debut this game. So we set up the instruments at the house and basically told, the game, it consists of anyone and everyone. Oh no. Oh no.
What's up?
I think are you good on your end?
Yeah, I'm good on my end, man. I saw that
Okay.
little pop up. We're good, dude.
Yeah,
We're
I was
good,
like, what the heck? Um so,
We're
so
good,
what
bro.
happened basically like we basically have it's a game for musicians and non-musicians. We played it that night. And then, my band Create at the time, and it's funny, we debuted that band that night as well. We started doing music programs in schools and stuff. We did it at this park, actually at the library that I work at.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady next door at the park loved what she saw. So she had us basically do a 6-week music program, which I debuted that game that I made up. And, a year or a few years after that, she had, she was like, hey, there's all these youth that are around here that are kind of into the same thing that you're into. We need something. And
Uh-huh.
so basically I started doing that particular game every week. And I got, and also I did that game in the schools, like even my guys from Create, shout out to those cats. They're married and I was the only one that wasn't. So I basically went into the schools and did the 6-week curriculum. I modified a lot of stuff too, but I put that game in there and I started using it with that. And then I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get
That's
all this
okay.
stuff out.
That's okay, man.
I started using that at the park too, and so the game basically has been played by so many different youth. I've been to camps, I've been to parks, I've, been to schools with it. It's been so cool. And I've seen it got to the point where um some of these kids were like, man, we want to learn how to play. And I didn't know like what to do. So I asked the boss that I had at the time, like, hey, we need some teachers. And he's like, why don't you teach? And I'm like, okay. So I basically started teaching. And that's where the Sound Army became more official. That's where I formed the collective that we have, based off of my students, their parents, and the other participants that were a part of our community that kept coming to instant band. A lot of these kids were like, a lot of these kids are adults now, some of the earlier members of this Sound Army crew, or some of the neighborhood kids that would come out.
Oh,
So it was really cool, like just to have and some of them bring their kids, just to have that for the youth at the time. And it was basically our American Idol and our freaking, way of just rock and rolling. And we didn't have, you don't have, I come from an experimental music background, and I'm thinking, well, heck, everybody's improvising, and to the normal, so-called normal ear, it sounds like noise. Well, I'm improvising, and I love playing with just even people that don't know how to play.
right, right.
Why not use that as a bridge to basically introduce these kids to music? And a lot of them got into it because of that, and the ones that didn't, they got into some other stuff, and that's cool. So basically the game has been a tool to introduce not only people to music, but to introduce them to their own creative endeavors. Whether you play music or not, you're creative. Whether you're a
Nice.
musician or not, you're still an artist. Whether
Mm.
you are at a law firm, it takes creativity to bring up the ideas that you use. So
Mhm.
for me, I use music as a catalyst to basically communicate that idea that if you can just pick up this instrument and do anything, you can do anything with anything else that you pick up that you're interested in. So that's where the
That's
instant band, that's the purpose with instant band.
that's an awesome mindset, man. I think it's important to always incorporate the arts and music in the community and make sure that the younger kids know that's an option. You know what I'm saying? Because when we were growing up, I feel like it was more prevalent than nowadays. Like I have two kids, and my daughter, she plays the ukulele, she plays the flute, she plays the violin. But my other daughter, she doesn't really, she plays a little bit of ukulele, but she's not really like that excited about playing an instrument as Micah is. But I think it's important, at a young age to be exposed to that. And are you guys doing this every week or every other week or?
We were doing it every Saturday. Unfortunately, COVID closed that down. But check this out. The cool
Mhm.
thing about like these, a lot of the youth that have been doing that, because COVID has closed down our parks, some of them have taken it to the beach. Like my Sound
Oh,
Army crew. Sound Army, I don't know how many members are in Sound Army now. It's a lot. I stopped counting. But there's always a core that are still active. Even when there's other ones that are just, they're gonna be always Sound Army, even if they're not active. The core of the current Sound Army, they've actually taken it to the beach and basically put, instant band. They've been practicing social distances, but they wanted to make sure, because they just missed it so much. They missed that, it was our release every week. One
mhm.
of the guys is his therapy. For me, it gets a lot out because I get to play all the instruments. Plus, I'm a very high energy person.
I know, I
So
noticed. Yeah, dude, let me know, man, because I play bass and I do vocals, dude. I'll come down, we'll do a Bad Brains cover, Living Color, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So
I just make everything up from spot, man. It
let
don't
me
even
know.
have to be a cover, man. And I know it's just fun, man. And yeah, I will let you know, man, when hopefully it gets back in the session. I just love playing, man. I love it all.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's good to hear about that project. So did you were you ever going to any of the street scene shows back in the day? I heard that like Jane's Addiction, Fishbone, like in LA in the 80s, there was this big thing called the street scene. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it, but I never made it out to any of those things. And in Long Beach, it's funny. Long Beach had a thing called the Day of Music, where they had, like all kinds of different cats playing. I mean, shoot. And then we had the Funk Fest. Shout
Oh,
out to
The Long Beach Funk Fest? Yeah, I came to that a couple of times. It's great.
yeah, we had that. We had the Day of Music where we saw, I mean, Dave Winkling played there, Cassandra Wilson played. I've been to that, in in the Funk Fest. But like, as far as I've heard of the street scene thing in LA, but I never made it out to that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Because one thing about LA is it's like if you're from Orange County, that you have a whole scene to support you in Orange County. If you're from Long Beach, that you could just be in Long Beach. You know what I mean? And not really venture out, to LA or to Northern California because there's so much going on. So that's the cool thing about being, here in this scene. So, are you a Fates Warning fan? I think I saw a poster where you were listening to like an old school Fates Warning album or any of that progressive stuff, progressive metal.
I liked that song by Fates Warning. That I could never say that title because I've seen that title in other songs too, and I actually have a song called that Dies Irae. I have a song on my death metal project called Dies Irae or
Oh,
Grindcore.
okay.
But I like
Yeah,
that song. Like, actually, no, it's called Kyrie Eleison. How could I forget that? I'm Orthodox. What the heck? It's
right.
called Lord of Mercy or Kyrie Eleison. And that the riff it was in my head because I remember it on that from that movie River's Edge.
Okay,
And it just,
gotcha.
you
Gotcha.
know, I that movie, how can I say this? That movie is messed up. I can't I haven't seen it in a long time, but I've always liked the beginning of that song. And
Hmm.
Kyrie Eleison. So I like that that doom part. Like
Yeah, man.
I like that song, so I had to post that,
Yeah, I grew up on Fates Warning, like the No Exit album and Perfect Symmetry. Those guys are great musicians, man. So like what I've been doing with my friends has been this like top four thing. Like, what's your top four favorite lineups as far as shows you've seen over the years? Like, what comes to memory of like lineups that you were like, oh, I'm never ever gonna forget this, you know? And when I say lineup, like three bands that played together, or you know,
Oh,
you still there?
hello?
Yeah, you still there,
Oh
aren't you?
man.
Did you hear my question?
Yeah, this thing was tripping.
Yeah, it
You
was a
said
little bit.
top four favorite lineups
Yeah, like as far as
as far as
concerts,
band?
concerts that you saw. It doesn't have to be metal, just like overall.
Shoot, that's hard. Definitely Melt Banana. The first time that I saw them, we opened for them at the Chorus Club. That's one of my favorite shows, even till this day. By them, like man.
Uh,
Who else? That's hard, man. That is so
yeah,
hard.
when you're as old as
There's
we
a
are, you start forgetting the lineups. You know what I mean? At 40 some years old, so I understand, dude. So
there's a band called Driven Out from Carson. That was, I mean, they're a local band. I don't even know if they're still. I think that's the name of that. I think that was their name, but that was. I remember being sick. Like me and my homeboy, I was in a punk band called Vito Manor with Kumar from this band called Kumar or Kurt Thompson is in a band called Heavenly Trip to Hell. But we were in a punk band called Vito Manor back in the day. But we were at this place called Taco Beach. It's not how it looks now, but it was a hole in the wall then. This band called Driven Out. First, it was some other punk bands, and I wasn't really feeling them, but
yeah,
I was just still there because I'm like, okay. And I wasn't feeling good either.
yeah,
Driven Out got up, man. Dude, the tables cleared. That whole place just like dude, put it like this. That was instant healing. I felt so good after that game.
right on, right on.
Killed
Yeah,
it. So that's like one. And then there's two who, oh man, that's so hard. Like I have to think, man. Um, shoot. Ah,
like one for me, I saw Candiria with King Diamond. It was King Diamond and Candiria. I don't know if you know Candiria from Brooklyn, New York.
yeah, I've heard them.
Yeah, but absolutely sick lineup and like unlikely. You wouldn't expect King Diamond to be playing with them because they're like a hardcore band. So it's just
Yeah.
crazy, you know. But yeah, I'm a big King Diamond Merciful Fate fan too. So I'm sorry to move on, but like as far as brutal pits, any memorable brutal pits over the years that you thought that you were not going to make it out of, or that
I've been in so many pits, I don't even know, man. Like, and I'm usually the wiry guy that like I've gotten so used to like being that little wiry guy and navigating myself through there.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
totally
even know
right.
anymore, man. I just have a blast, especially, and plus I'm a high energy dude. So if I'm hearing blast beats or just like it's on, dude. Like despise you. That was an awesome freaking pit, man. Like despise you with brutal truth and man is a bastard. When
Hmm.
despise you got on, woo, that was awesome.
Brutal Truth,
Oh
isn't
man,
that Brutal Truth? That's Danny Loeffler's band from Nuclear Assault, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Danny's cool too, man. I met that dude a few times. He's real cool, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh man.
I bet that was sick, dude. But yeah, man, that's about it, man. I appreciate your time today, dude. And it was entertaining, dude. It was great talking to you. And it hit me up, bro. I got your phone number. So hit me up,
Yeah,
man. And hopefully we'll be able to go to shows again eventually.
that'd be
Soon.
cool. I feel like I want to apologize because sometimes like like I get stuck with questions and I get overwhelmed to answer,
No, dude. You're
but
cool,
I
man.
feel like there's so much to say, but I don't know how to sum it up in
No,
one.
you did great, man. It's really supposed to just to be a conversation, you know what I'm saying? Just like if the cameras weren't on, whatever. But I just something I'm doing. It's therapeutic for me because I love talking music, dude. I could talk music all night, man. I could just, and I know with a person like you, we could just like get into it, talk about Creator and SOD, MOD, all those great groups, but we don't have enough time for all that shit. So it's like,
I don't mind.
you know, what
Oh,
I'm
I
saying?
just thought of another gig too.
Go
When
ahead.
I saw King Crimson, I
Oh
saw King Crimson.
man,
I'm a
wow,
prog rock fan big time. I've been since I was a kid.
Robert
But
Fripp,
when
huh?
I saw King Crimson, oh yeah.
Hmm.
Here's the thing though. The first song that I ever heard, not to cut you off, the first
No.
song I ever heard by them was Lark Tongues and Aspect 1. And check this out, you're gonna laugh. Cause I barely had any money, but I really wanted to see this gig. And I got a scalp ticket. And the dude was like, it's such and such. I'm like, I don't have that, man. I only got 40. He's all, take the bloody ticket, like, and I got it. I think I got like the fifth or sixth row. I was like right in front of them. And they started off with the very first song I ever heard by them. And I was like, oh, like my mind was racing. Just like my eyes were looking all over the stage. Yeah, I'm a Crimson and Magma fan, all those guys, like, oh,
Um, Go ahead.
I forgot to mention, speaking of that, if you like Japanese like bands that are kind of out there, check out a
Yeah.
band called Ruins. I actually played with that drummer. The band Ruins is amazing. Actually, that drummer actually has done stuff with John Zorn and a few other people, but Ruins is amazing, man. If you like some really tripped out like changes and all that stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
bass and drums, man, they rule. I played with that drummer basically covering their songs, man. Like that was awesome. I had fun doing that.
Yeah, I just found out about Magma through Derek because I look at his YouTube channel and he's just a plethora of music. He's
Yeah,
always turning me
Derek's a
on to
great
new
guy.
stuff. And I'm actually thinking about getting him on here next because,
Oh,
dude,
please
he's
do. I want to interview him myself, man. But
yeah,
that guy's a legend, dude. Like he's of course a musician, but he knows his stuff, man.
he
Like, and
does.
plus he's done a lot of movement stuff too. Like seriously, dude. Like
Yeah,
talk to him about that. Like seriously.
right.
Like
Because
on some like
yeah, I didn't really I'm not familiar with the Omaha scene, but ever since I've been checking his station out, he's been kind of hipping me to all the hardcore bands and punk bands out of Omaha that are legendary. So yeah, that guy, he knows a lot. And he's in his 60s, so he's
yeah, I
like a
mean,
generation before us.
yeah.
So
Between like the punk thing and the Panther thing, I'm serious. Like that guy has a lot of history. Like I have to like I feel overwhelmed because there's a bunch of questions that I want to ask him based off of those movements. Like
yeah,
because I know he knows a lot, and we're into like a lot of the same kind of weird punk and progressive rock stuff too.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the fact that he has some history with the Panthers as well. So it's pretty cool. Like just wow.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't know you had history with
Yeah.
the Panthers. Yeah. That's cool, man,
Yeah,
but
ask him about that, man.
I will for sure, bro. All right, man. Well, you have a good night, man. I'm out of here, man. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. I hope I wasn't too scattered, man.
No, dude,
Like
it
I
was
always try to.
it was great, man. It was great. It was good getting to know you, man. Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Peace.
Thank you, man.
All right.
You be safe, brother. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
Peace, man.
God bless.
All right.
Peace.